Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. Host Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, this was more of your day than mine. How are you doing?
I am doing all right. I'm not gonna. It's definitely not my day because my mentions were on fire for about the first 20 minutes of this game. Of like, how dare you ever defend this defense again and all this stuff. But you know what, man? End of the day, my last tweet before coming on live. A win's a win in the NFL, and the Kansas City Chiefs have done this all season long. Multiple opponents, the Raiders, the Panthers, and the NFL is praising them for their resiliency and ability to win these close games no matter what. And the Bills do it, and people are mad. But maybe we should tell the folks why they are here joining us and listening to us.
Yeah, you are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have defeated the New England Patriots 24-21. They are now 12-3. They are still 2 games back from the New England Patriots. With the Pittsburgh Steelers loss yesterday and the Chiefs loss, they have now even further solidified the likelihood of the number 2 seed in the playoffs. They obviously have not ground on the 1 seed, but despite how ugly this game may have been or how great it didn't feel, they also didn't lose any ground in the game today. So as Aaron and I talked about pre-show, the only thing that actually matters coming out of this is one, getting a W. It didn't, a loss even wouldn't have been the end of the world. It would have been very little impact on the seeding, but they won, which is the important part. The actual most important part is, how is Josh Allen's right hand and a layer below that, how is David Andrews, any of the other guys that had to come in or out of this game, the 4 defensive starters who missed the game? Health was the second most important thing besides getting a W today.
I would actually say it was more important.
Yes, honestly. Really? Well, if you take Josh's health into account, Josh's health is more important than a W.
Yeah.
And I would say David Edwards is an important piece. He's right there, as important as a W.
Yep. Taryn was a little scary for a minute. Obviously, a concussion. It was evaluated. He would be back for the playoffs, but you still don't want to see a guy rack those up.
Yeah, it looked like a protocol check.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is going to be, rightfully a lot of nervous mafia, a lot of anxiety, a lot of, the beginning parts of this defense was
confirming to people's worst fears.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people wanted this, and by a lot of people, I mean me, wanted this to be the get-right game for the defense. Like, hey, let's come in, let's have a dominant defensive performance. Let's feel way better about ourselves. Let's get some guys feeling good. And instead, we dig a 14-0 hole to the New England Patriots. We let them take 20 minutes and 20 seconds in the first half. Padden here saying Aaron has an 84.7% chance of raising my blood pressure inadvertently. Have a great holiday, fellas. We appreciate you, Padden. Aaron, between the breakfast sandwiches and this game, your cardiologist is not going to be pleased.
Yeah, I was saying before here, I actually have an appointment early in the morning tomorrow with my cardiologist. So it's a great time to get myself checked up, and I'll get my blood pressure checked and all that stuff. Make sure no check engine lights are on inside here. But I'll probably piss off some people with my takes on the defense here tonight, Greg, but we can get into the offensive side of the ball first, or unless you want to talk about the defensive performance first this time, switch it up. That's probably going to be the talk of the game.
Yeah. I think there's actually a little bit more. Obviously, there's not a ton great to talk about on the offensive side of the ball. So it's not like there's bigs over there to be able to go through. But the defense, I think it was the frustration because it wasn't repeated terrible plays. It wasn't gashing, giving up crazy long plays all the time. There were some really impressive catches. Just like we said, I told Evan on Wednesday night, I don't love how Drake May looks, and I certainly don't feel any better today. I don't feel better that Drake May is the quarterback of the New England Patriots. He's good. Like, I will see if he's great, but he's good. They have a good quarterback. I didn't want the New England Patriots to have a good quarterback this soon. He's a good quarterback. There's already, if you want to ask me who has a better quarterback situation in the AFC East out of our other 3 teams, you can make a pretty good case that New England might be ahead of Miami already in that.
The ceiling's higher.
Yes, correct. Looking at the upside long term, like they might be in a better position. That didn't help.
Yep.
Reminder is a tough runner and going to be hard to bring down. He did that over and over and over again. Antonio Gibson was a change of pace. And to let a group of receivers like Kayshon Boutte, Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, like those guys shouldn't be making the plays that they were here. This should have been the get right team. 21 points isn't the end of the world. 21 points is honestly, if the Bills give up 21 more points every game the rest of the season, we'll be raising a trophy over our heads. So 21 points is not, a death knell. I was hoping for better. I was hoping for the dominant performance here. We got a stretch. We got that stretch in the third quarter, multiple turnovers, multiple sacks, creating big plays. So there were flashes here today.
Yeah.
But I think it's that first half with the just blood draining 20 minutes of possession and them soaking all the time of possession off there where we could only get so many drives. That's what has people frustrated, upset, nervous.
Yeah. I probably don't have time this week to do it. Feels like a great segment for perception versus reality of how the conversation would be, right? I think when we look at it, I am going to try to dig in a little tomorrow to confirm some of what I think was going on. I was tweeting it out. I actually thought the defensive line in the run game looked bad, but we know that the interior defensive line against the run hasn't been great. Overall for the game, they held them to 4.2. I'll take that pretty much whenever. Like, this is a team that was trying to run on you. They got some of it in the first half going. It didn't look good, so I have no defense of the defensive line there. But then behind it, you had Balin Spector. I think that was a huge problem in this first half of the game, both in the run game and the pass game. They really exposed him in the pass game early in the middle of the field, going at those tight ends early and often. That throw to Boutte, the first one for the touchdown, that was actually good coverage by Elam. That was that's what we're talking about with what is concerning about Drake May. That was a dime where only the wide receiver could get it. Beautiful play, frustrating end to that first drive. But I do think I saw the defense getting a lot of pressures and they weren't getting home, but he was getting the ball out because tight ends were wide open very quickly against Balin Spector. They even got the safeties in some conflict. I think there is some nuance to not having your starting safeties. I know people aren't high on Damar Hamlin. I think Cole Bishop did a pretty good job and Cam Lewis had that interception in the game, but on a rep per rep basis, Rapp and Hamlin have been playing better more often and being in position than the two backups were. And then Elam, we saw today, Elam, he had a pretty good game against the Lions, but got quite exposed in this game he's not Rasul Douglas, right? Like he's just not that guy. And then again, Spector was a huge problem. We saw, that was something we talked about this week is Dorian Williams really that good? Like he's that much better than Spector? Like, and he made more plays than Milano.
What did I miss I feel like I went off both sides of the spectrum here. I was making the sarcastic jokes on Wednesday night about hey, I'm hearing all these things about Dorian Williams. Did I miss something? Is there something I don't know about this guy? Because I was saying, hey, he's Terrell Dotson. He's a really good run defender. He can come forward.
That's what he did tonight. Yeah.
Can do that and make good plays. You don't really want him isolated in coverage, but he's a good third linebacker. That's great. Why in the world was Balin Spector starting over him?
I don't know. And I don't love to speculate on stuff, Greg, that. But the only thing I could think of in this game is Rasul Douglas himself said, and I know words from players aren't necessarily truth, but he said he was going to play early in this week. I think he told Matt Beauvais that in an interview that he was going to play. We saw Hamlin and Rapp were super close to playing last week and limited all week. And so I don't know. I don't want to speculate that they were taking it easy with the Patriots and just trying to get right. But I think they were leaning towards conservative with a lot of approach to going
Which
into
admittedly, I should be okay with because you're a 14-point favorite. You ought to be able to still win with backups, which they did.
Which they did. But I think that maybe with the previous injury to Dorian Williams, that was more of like a, hey, break in case of emergency, which the emergency came up where hey, let's get Spector out there. And if it becomes a problem, we're going to bring in Dorian Williams. But we didn't really get to know because Spector did get hurt and Dorian Williams had to come in. And I hope that Spector's okay. But the injury, I do think, benefited the Bills in this game because Dorian Williams, when he came in, actually made a number of plays coming downhill, like you said. One of the few guys that was blitzing for the Bills that was actually getting pressure. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. I actually think the Bills have been able to do a pretty good job getting pressure with 4 for the most part this season. When they blitz, they're one of the worst in the league at getting pressure when they blitz. I don't know why.
They got picked up last second that turned into it looked like Dorian timed it perfectly and got picked up by Antonio Gibson last second. Picked up and wasn't what should have been a 10-yard sack. he hits who I think is Booty for a ridiculous 20-yard play. That was such a huge swing when it was a well-timed blitz that should have gotten home. But just like all season long, we've gotten a ton where we're a running back pickup away from a sack, but the running back picks it up.
Here actually Michael Kahan says Vaughn looked bad. I actually totally disagree. I know I just did a video on Vaughn, but Vaughn had a bunch of pressure. Drake May did a really good job tonight eluding pressure. That one time he got out on a 3rd and 9, Vaughn was there almost dead right. He doesn't have the burst. Yeah, he doesn't have that burst that he used to, so he's not Hall of Fame Von Miller, but he had a number of pressures. I actually thought Vaughn looked pretty good. I actually thought the defensive line was getting a decent amount of pressures, and there was one blitz too where they sent Cole Bishop and Dorian Williams, and they had him, and Drake May just rolled out the opposite. Like, he read that pressure really well. For a rookie, you would expect him to kind of fold under that type of pressure. I was really impressed by his ability to just create some space when getting pressured, and he didn't make big mistakes with the ball when getting that kind of pressure.
Yeah, so I like Len's point here. This was we won. Like, letdown games, a lot of times you don't get a chance to get a W from. So they obviously didn't take this team seriously enough. They obviously thought they were going to be able to come out and just show up and go through the motions and get the win, because they'd been playing amazing. They had been on 8 straight games over 30 points. They had been playing at an incredibly high level. It makes sense of why they thought that was going to be the case, because they've been doing it. It's been consistent. But the fact that they were able to come back from that, still get the W, and get out of here. The one piece on Ken's point, TJ Watt had the same thing yesterday against Baltimore, where he was constantly flushing Lamar from the pocket and having impact, but he didn't close on a lot of them. He didn't finish very many of them. That doesn't mean he was bad. Like, there wasn't a bad game. Like, yes, would it have been better if Vaughn finished more of those? Absolutely. That would have been lovely. I would have really liked a couple more of those. But again, we did sack Drake May twice. We did cause 4 fumbles in this game. We did have an interception. We did have multiple game impacting plays. I would have liked more. That would have been great. But that's not the same as playing bad. Flipping it over to the offense, obviously not Josh's best game. 16 to 29, 154 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception. The interception was kind of an arm punt, but it was on third down.
I still would have liked a better
opportunity
to get the field goal in that situation.
Yeah, I would have loved a 10-yard play on 3rd and 16 where we could have argued about whether to go for the field goal or go for 4th and 6. He also ran a little bit today, but seemed multiple times. I was watching with my family today. So all of us were all together, my parents, my brother and sister-in-law, my nephews, my wife and kids, and we were all watching together. There were multiple times where people were yelling at the TV, why didn't Josh just run for it? Why did he hunt for the big play? It did seem like he was really trying hard to hit the big play tonight.
A lot. And big play chasing all night.
Yeah, I don't love that, because we've seen so much success with the ability to just meticulously move the ball down the field, and yes, take the shots when they're there. But there were several where it seemed forced, where he had 5, 8, 10 yards in front of him to just run and slide, and he did that so well in Detroit last week. Like, people were joking about how graceful some runs and slides where he slid for 5 yards and popped up and it looked like out of a movie. We could have used a couple of those today, where don't put yourself at risk, but he's showing that he can run and slide with the space there. There were several of those where there was an opportunity to do that. One was on the interception, and another was on another 3rd down deep shot where he had room to run. And I don't quite know if, admittedly, was the hand in his head and that he knew. It doesn't seem like it was some major injury. It seems like it was just,
and that came later. I don't know when it felt like it's starting. Thank you, Michael. Go Bills to you too, man.
The rest of the running backs, again, pretty efficient. 28 yards for 100, or 20 carries for 172 yards. James Cook 11 for 100, but we couldn't maintain possession. We kept banging our head against the wall with some of these pieces that, it's hard to know what else we could have done. Everyone's reasonably efficient, but we didn't have that many opportunities because we didn't have possession of.
Yeah, definitely the first half. I think the first half changed the game script a little bit for the Bills with the way the Patriots were taking.
Just real quick, I just looked while we were doing this. for as dominant as the first half was, the game ended 30 minutes and 57 seconds to 29 minutes and 3 seconds. So we were almost as dominant in the second half. We had 19
Yeah.
minutes
Oh, yeah.
plus of possession in the second half. So it was almost as dominant in the second half our direction.
Yes. And I think it was I think that was defensively led a little bit with the turnovers, getting the ball back and stealing some possessions and starting the half with the possession. But in the first half, I think the defense let the offense down, obviously, of giving up those long possessions didn't help for time of possession. I don't think it allowed the offense to get in maybe the groove they wanted to. I think I was a little frustrated with Joe Brady early in the game too, because once Cook broke off a big run in the second half, he had only had 3 runs for like 75 yards because he had the first one early where he broke off the long touchdown run, but they didn't stay consistent going to him. And I think there was a bad mix early in this game of a mix of Josh trying to chase the big play and Brady allowing him to, and not forcing him into a script that was more, let's get into a rhythm. And I don't know if that is, my mind says maybe there's some external pressure of the MVP stuff and like, let's get Josh some big stuff. And like, I think he wants it. They've kind of alluded to Josh has these personal goals for himself. So I think there's some desire.
Brady wants to be the play caller of the MVP. Like Brady wants it too.
Yes. And they have had success in chasing some big plays this year. Right. So I do get leaning into it. And that was probably the biggest flaw of Ken Dorsey, was allowing, like, nobody put a governor on the two of them between like, Josh can do everything he wants. I'm going to allow him to go chase big plays. And like, they would just not get out of that rut. Luckily the Bills did, and they leaned into the run. I think that's when the offense started to pick up a little bit. And then you saw him taking a little bit more of the underneath stuff at kind of in that third, early fourth quarter. But yeah, I was a little frustrated with the chasing the plays. I will say New England's defense did a really good job. I'm interested to go back and look at this. There was a number of times where Josh had all kinds of time, and I do think he was chasing the big play, but then when they showed some of the looks, guys look covered. Like there just wasn't a lot of separation happening.
Arte Mapu flashed, Kyle Duggar flashed, Christian Ellis flashed.
Gonzalez did a great job on Amari Cooper.
A lot of guys I wasn't expecting to be star players flashed and made big plays.
Yeah, and they had a good game plan. But even within that, there was a couple plays where I saw James Cook leaking a little bit on the swing, and Josh just didn't even look his way. He was looking downfield to make the big play. And you just gotta, in a game like this where you go down and the defense is reeling a little bit, you got to take those. And Josh knows that. I think he's gonna have some plays when he goes back, looks at the film, he's going to take back. I'm not here to pile on Josh. Nothing's without Josh, right? So, but I will say the conversation I'm getting, and I know Twitter's a bubble and mine's not particularly healthy, is going to be super negative about the defense because there's all these feelings that is going to be the thing that lets everything down, and we should have dominated this offense. But just as much as we should have done that, I expected this offense to absolutely dominate the Patriots defense, and the Patriots offense actually scored more points than the Bills offense in this game. Like the defense scored in this game to give them 24 points, and you got a huge 50-yard field goal from Tyler Bass in this one. The offense really didn't show up and hold up their end of the bargain for the most part in this game.
Yeah. And Steve here with a really good point. Some of the like deep ball luck was against us tonight, where Drake May does it a couple times, gets some PIs. That late possession with some really ticky-tack calls on Kyer.
There was a bunch of ticky-tack ones.
It was like, don't get me wrong, this was not a great Kyer Elam game, but it was made worse by some of the calls that were there. And Josh had a couple of them. The one that, we hit that Ty Johnson play like 3 times in the other game. And tonight it bounces off of the DB's head. Like the DB didn't do anything to earn that. That was just
all those flags
weird, bad luck
too. Late flags all night long, which that drives me nuts. Call it.
I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I hate it when you see that, when it certainly looks like they're excited to let the team coming back continue their drive and get extra shots at the end zone.
Frustrating, yeah.
So just like you said, none of this is a guy who has been right there for if we take away MVP and we go offensive player of the year for this team, tonight was probably Khalil Shakir's worst game of the year. The first time all season where I was like, oh, like there's only
really one that bothered me on the long deep ball where it looked like he just didn't extend enough. The other ones, like the one Jones broke up, was just like Shakir had it and then just like bounced off Jones's knee, like
that one would have been an impressive catch, but it only was able to hit his knee because he didn't make the initial catch. Sure. If he made the initial catch, he would have had it and then would have had to survive the ground. But it only could hit his knee because it hit him and came out of his chest to do it. The other one was a ball that, again, that's not a routine catch. That's not an easy one, but it's one we've seen him make all season.
Yeah.
And, it was just the first time all season where I was like, oh,
Yeah, it was great.
it just wasn't up to, he set an incredibly high standard. He's now, putting himself into very status, and tonight was a bad game. Tonight just wasn't a great game in that sense.
I got to pull up Man of War here. We need a dome, dude. I get people tweet this and tell me all the time.
It was really cold.
Yeah, I got super bad news for you. You're not getting one. And the next stadium will be better. It'll have heated field. It'll have some protection from some of the conditions.
Yeah, more control from the wind.
The Bills aren't the 1 seed. They're going to have to go play outside. It's going to be cold in Kansas City in January. Like, this excuse is ridiculous. It's cold
in Baltimore. It's cold in Pittsburgh.
Correct.
But guess what? Watching Drake May tonight, it gets cold in New England. We're going to have to play games that matter there over the next 10 years.
Yeah, man. Brady did it. Greats did it. Patrick Mahomes has done it. Like, this excuse to me is so soft. Football's played outside. I think Josh is weatherproof. This isn't the take, in my opinion. But you're welcome to it.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. It's fun to watch them play indoors. I don't mind it, but it's just not going to be an option to be.
Get to the Super Bowl and you can play inside.
Yeah, they're controlled elements. I don't know that anybody else in the receiving game. I get the awesome catch from Dawson Knox. He made an awesome one early on.
Yeah, Cooper had a tough day. One catch.
Christian Gonzalez is awesome. Cooper had a drop. I don't know what I want to see the all 22 with the full play where I can see what Keon Coleman looked like he slipped coming back to the ball that Mapu
maybe
intercepted, but there wasn't a lot of time. But
it was a bad ball
too. Throw. So I'm a little confused at what Josh saw versus how far away Coleman was from the ball. Was it just that bad of a throw, or did
it was double coverage either way? Yeah, even if it was
Josh
Coleman
didn't see Mapu over there for sure. Josh thought it was 1-on-1 with Coleman. He's like, hey, I'm going to give my guy a shot, and then also made a bad throw. Was the bad combination there.
Actually, Knox had a super impressive catch and had a couple nice plays. Kincaid had some nice stuff too. Everybody was off a little bit because I think Josh was off a little bit in this one.
And when it's negative, when it feels like -2, like that's not awesome to be able to do. But again, Kayshon Boutte seemed to be doing okay. Pop Douglas seemed to be doing okay. So both teams are playing in it, and our guys weren't great. So let's go into some of the drives. Special teams wise, I kind of not all that much.
So the 42-yard return to start the game sucked.
Sure, there you go.
That wasn't good. And then the converted 4th down fake punt, where like you're playing a team that has nothing to lose. Like you should be. That was a tough one because
aware.
But you got to be aware. It didn't even look like the Bills were ready for that. And then St. Martin had a 37-yard wobbly punt that was not great.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one that just rocketed right into the end zone. It was probably just a bad bounce.
It probably bounced off
hard cold field. Yeah, frozen field.
But the Bass kick was great to see, man. Seeing him nail a 50
dead center from 50
in these conditions. You talk about the cold. It probably impacts the ball for kickers the most. And that's got to be a hard ball. So seeing him,
I got to tell you. Yeah, the confidence level in my family living room was not high. Not high.
The same
when
here.
They were going for that. They saw, they're like, how far is that?
Yeah,
50.
Although my kids oddly love Bass because they watched the Dolphins game and they saw him kick the game winner, and so like that's in their mind still. So the young hope of children is still there. Yeah,
I respect it. My wife was not super confident in that.
Mine either. Yeah.
So obviously, the start was about as bad as you could possibly have it.
Couldn't
not
script it worse
because of the opening score, but the fact that like it sucked up all of the time of the game. So we ended up having one possession in the entire first quarter, and they open up with touchdown, a short one from us, and another touchdown. It was just a really frustrating start. And both of their drives, you had 6 plays, 58 yards, again, only 58 because they got the 42-yard return to start it. Not anything crazy early.
It was like 13 minutes of two possessions.
Yeah, so they get the one conversion to Hunter Henry early on. They get down a little bit closer, and they only needed the one conversion, and they're already now in our space because they added the defensive pass interference from Spector.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, that corner shot, like that's just a hard play to stop. It wasn't terrible coverage. It was a great pass and a
Beautiful
really
throw.
nice catch by Booty.
Yeah.
That one's like, okay, good job, guys. That was a lot of unsustainable plays. That's what I had in my head. It's like, all right, like I don't think we're going to get called for defensive pass interference all day on plays like that. I don't think he's, if he starts hitting corner shots like that, we got way bigger problems than just this game. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
And then we come back out and the Bills now have the ball. And I'm like, all right, well, let's, just kind of keep this engine humming. And it was immediately just not easy. And you get the quick first down, not too bad. Cook run, the pass to Kincaid, then Josh, we come right up and do the quick sneak.
Yeah.
But then we get a stuff, and then we go deep shot, and then the incompletion. It just real quick, all of a sudden you get 3 negative plays. Like, wait, it felt like a 3 and out, even though we got the initial first down. But then we're like, all right, now we got to give the ball back to them, and they're feeling good about themselves. And it was worse than the first because Sam Martin has a really nice punt on a 16-play, 91-yard, 9 minute and 57 seconds. Like this, about this easily would have been our West Herr drive of the game. Whatever the car dealerships are in New England, they're talking about this as their drive of the game. Yeah. This was a soul-sucking, clock-draining, oh crap, we're in for a tough game today. That unsustainable stuff I was worried about earlier. Don't worry, they don't need the unsustainable stuff here. They're just going to continue to get, again, 14, 5, 5, 11, 10, 6, 10, 4, just constant, these little medium chunks over and over and over again, all the way down.
Yeah, and you did have some like not unsustainable ones, but like on a third down, you get AJ with an encroachment. There was another a late
freebie
defensive pass interference against Cam Lewis that I don't think was. I know that he got his hands on him, but man, like some of these pass interferences, I just wonder what the NFL wants.
That one to Cam was bad. That one to Cam was really, really light. And you even heard the announcers being like, oh, I don't really know what to tell you on that one.
I just don't know what you want defenders to do in some of these situations. That was a tough one, and it gave them the first and goal. So some of those things were tough, but this was a soul-sucking drive. You had the 3rd and 8 with a 12-yarder to Henry. But honestly, this is where I was like, you got to get Balin Spector off the field. They were running at Spector, and the defensive line didn't help on these drives of allowing them to get to Spector, but they were running at him, and then they were throwing at him, and it just felt like they saw that matchup, and we're like, until they pull him off the field, we're going to attack that, and they did it all the way down the field with great success, and I think it made the whole defense look worse than they probably did. And obviously they rebounded the rest of the game. There were some pressures on this one where Drake May just scrambled. There was a 3rd and 9 where Von Miller got to him on this play and he scrambles for a first down. Like it was just one of those soul sucking drives where even when you had plays where you thought you were going to get some success, a 3rd and 9 and get a stop, a 3rd and 8, you had some pressure and he just got open and found the open receiver and made the first down. And it was like, man, if it's going to go like this all night, but I still felt like the Bills are the better team. This can't go on for 4 quarters. Like somebody's going to step up and make a play here at some point. Like Josh isn't going to look as bad as he did on the first drive. And then the Bills come back and they do respond, but it's not because of Josh Allen. It's because James Cook cooks sometimes.
Yeah. With this one, you get the really nice catch from Knox on the first play right off. Johnson goes for 5. Josh hits James Cook for 6, and then James Cook breaks one off for 46 yards. Really, really nice run, is able to kind of get himself out into space in that slithery style that he has where it doesn't look like he's going that fast, but he's moving past everybody else. It's just so smooth. And my immediate comment to my family was, oh, that's awesome. I kind of think we scored too fast. Like I really wish we could have given the defense a little bit more of a break after the first 2 drives. And it ended up not being the case because the defense gets one of their only 3 and outs of the game here. They come right out. They get a incompletion, get some pressure. These were, again, plays where you force May to get the ball out a little bit early. Here, he ends up hitting Kendrick Bourne for 9 yards. And this is one where he ends up making up for it with the fake punt later on. But
Mayo's not been good.
I joked with my family, like, that 4th and 1 where it was like actually like 4th and a half a yard. I know it's their own 36, but you're 3-11. Your offense has been cooking with 2 straight drives. And I joked with my brother-in-law and my nephew, you want to know what the real analytics is? It's not all the equations. It's do what the other fan base doesn't want you to do. And you want to know what I don't want them to do right now? Go for it.
Yep.
And
Same.
hand the ball to Ramondre Stevenson and just dare our defensive line to stop them for no gain.
Or even the play they were doing with the read option with Drake May.
Yeah.
Like using that type of thing on us worked with great success because it's not something they've done. It was a tendency breaker in a big way tonight. And later in the game, there's another one. There was a 4th and 6 late in the game. And it's like the analytics, I don't know what they are on it, but I was like, okay, they're punting. Sweet.
Yeah.
Correct.
And again, it's at their own 36.
Yeah.
You have a lead. Like
you have nothing to lose though.
But in that spot, like I would have wanted in the drought years, we would be screaming at the TV to go for it in those spots.
Yeah.
So what that should have done is given the Bills the opportunity to really, put your foot on the throat and be able to be in a spot where like, hey, all right, I dare you to be able to, take us seriously here. We give us the ball back. We're going to now tie it up and take care of business here and show who the better team is. And it started looking that way. The first one, we get the nice swing to James Cook. He takes it for 16 yards, go right back to Kincaid. We get, an Amari Cooper appearance.
Yeah, you're like across midfield in 2 plays. Like,
yeah. This one was an incomplete to Shakir where it just didn't seem like they're on the same page. So end up not getting anything there. And now we get, where it's kind of red and Kincaid gets crunched early.
Yeah.
And you're in one of those spots where, okay, it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11. Oh, now we get a false start. It's 3rd and 16. So this is what you talked about in the initial opening comments. It's 3rd and 16 to the 44. So at the 44, you're talking about a 60-yard field goal, 61, 62-yard field goal. So obviously that's out of play here. So the real target is, okay, can you get enough yards to where we at least have a debate of do you go for it or kick the field goal? So the real goal is 10 to 12 yards.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get the 16, that's great, but you get 8, 10, 12 yards where, okay, it's now a field goal, 53-yard field goal. It's more doable. We obviously saw later on, we didn't know it in that moment. We saw Bass, he hit the net from 50. So I think they would have gone for it 52, 53, 54 yards. They would have gone for that. And at 54 yards, that would have meant it was 4th and 8. 4th and 8, you're not going to go for it.
Right.
But if you get yourself 12 yards and it's 4th and 4, maybe you go for it. But instead, Josh chucks it down the end zone. And again, this is unfair. If Keon Coleman goes up and big boys his guy and doesn't slip and it's a better throw and he comes down with it, we're all high-fiving and like, oh my God, MVP Josh, this is amazing. So, again, we got to take the bad with the good because there's way more good. But this one wasn't good. It was big play hunting. It was not only not a 50-50 ball, it was a 33% ball because they had 2 guys and we had 1. And their guy was in position because you made a bad throw. So you threw it into double coverage with a bad throw. It was just the worst in both worlds. And again, it's 3rd and 16.
Yeah.
There's plenty of outcomes here where we end up punting anyways.
Sure.
The guy, Mapu, messes up and gets tackled at the 1. So, there's all kinds of things here that end up making it not as bad as what it was. It just, you had a chance to really put them fully back in their place and you lost it.
I just wanted a better opportunity, to your point, to make a decision. And it seemed like there was a lot of protection. Josh had time to do this. And it's hard because we watched it live. I'd like to go back and watch. I don't know what the routes were on the other concepts on the routes. I don't even know if Brady put guys in position to get 8 yards or anything like that, like get a quick pass and just try to get half of it back, right? I didn't remember the route concepts, but this also kind of felt like one of those ones where even Josh, instead of taking all the time to big play hunt and make extra time to get the throw off, would have been a great time to see the run for 6 to 8 and slide in this opportunity to get you in that position to even have a discussion about it. But again, I'm not going to kill him for this one. To your point, if this play hits, then obviously we're playing, but that's playing the results of still a bad decision, probably, which has worked out in our favor a number of times. But yeah, that's definitely one I've got circled. that if I get a chance this week to go back and watch this game all 22, I want to see what the route concepts were. I want to see what Brady gave him in that position to see if it was something that like, hey, you had a quick to like Dawson Knox or something to get the 6 to 8 yards to maybe have a conversation about a better play and a better higher percentage play. Because at this point in the game, man, you've now seen like this offense is running at a pace that you're not going to get a lot of opportunities if they keep playing the way they're playing. And so you're not desperate for this win, but you still want to get the win. You got Josh Allen out there. And so you want to give yourself the percentages, and your defense finally got a takeaway. You want to give them something for getting that takeaway. And instead, to your point, the result ends up being okay because it is like a down punt eventually, but I don't love playing the results in that manner of it was still a bad decision. And we just got lucky. They also made a bad decision and didn't just down it in the end zone.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, all kinds of weird things happened. Then it looked like we were about to get a nice turnover, and we ended up getting one later on, another backed up possession. But they put together what again looks like, oh my God, are we going to let them go for 99 yards here and get back into this? It ends up being a 10-play drive that doesn't even get into the Bills side of the field, which is a weird combination. You don't have a lot of 10-play drives that don't cross midfield, but when you start at the 1, it's possible here.
Sure.
So they end up having a fumble where Dwayne Smoot and looks like Terrell Bernard kind of cause a fumble, but they get back on top of it. Yeah. They do here get to a 4th and 1 instead of a 4th and 1 of their own, 35, they're 36, they're their own 23, and they fake it. And Pettis ends up taking it up the middle for a fake punt. And that's one where some of your Billsy PTSD starts trickling up in your mind. Be like, God, is this going to be one of those stupid games where they pop in and, have it set up that way? Again, they end up going down. We get a stop. We force them to punt it. But again, they punt on another 4th and 1. At their own 34. So they punt on a 4th and 1 at their own 36. They punt again on a 4th and 1 at their own 34. A 3-11 team. I'm wanting them to go for all of the 4th and 1s here.
For sure. I do think it's hard when you go for the fake and like the team's more prepared for it the second time when you don't get it. But yeah, I also wanted them, or I didn't want them to go. I wanted them to punt in this situation. I won't lie. I was super frustrated. I think it was with Charles Davis during this drive because like the Bills weren't getting gashed here and they had to go for it on a 4th to keep this drive going. And then they were presented with another opportunity, but he was like, oh man, this is really bad for the Bills defense. Like they've given up a 1st down. This is terrible. Like, and it's like, dude, they're in a position where they're creating stops. They created a fumble. Like at this part, it felt like the defense was like getting their footing a little bit more in this game. And it wasn't easy for the Patriots to move the ball. They did move the ball. They did get a couple 1st downs, but they needed 4 downs to do it at least once. And they should have needed a 4th down to do it again. But then this next drive, Greg, this is super frustrating because this is why you defer. This is why you get yourself in the position to put yourself in a position for the double dip. This is something you and I love. I talk about double dips all the time. In a game like this is exactly where the double dip comes into play. So you get another stop, you get the ball back, you got a minute 48 with some timeouts, and it was big play hunting again. Like you get into Hollins for 11, but then there's an illegal formation, puts it back to a 1st and 15. Allen scrambles for 4 yards, and you get another one to Hollins. You have to take a timeout at 46 seconds, but then it's incompletion, and it's 40 seconds. And like you took a minute off the clock, used 1 timeout, and you're punting to end the half. And that just feels like, man, like, yeah, the defense wasn't great in this first half, but they got you the 2 stops to end the half and get the ball back in your hands, and you did nothing with both those stops. And a lot of it was trying to chase the big play instead of 40 seconds. Like you can matriculate the ball still and get into field goal range and at least go 3 and get a double dip opportunity to go up in this game at that point. And that felt really frustrating to me of not being able to capitalize on back-to-back drives where the defense struggled to start this game. They got you the ball a couple times and nothing happened.
Yeah. And each of those, the previous possession where we should have just kind of put them back in our place. And now, like you mentioned, the front end of the double dip, they were just opportunities to kind of get this back to where it was supposed to be. And just to show them, hey, here. And Deborah saying, I bet the Bills players were tired after the last
Sure.
2 weeks, high scoring games on the road.
Fair.
Sure. And they've had a lot of guys again today, 4 defensive starters out, and then another couple guys misplays there. There's also, it was 6 degrees with a -2 wind chill. That sucks
Definitely.
for everybody.
And it's the
Also,
holidays. These are people too. You just tweeted out about like
Yeah.
how we're 4 days away, and I understand the family vacation more than ever.
Yeah.
I guess the holidays
And
for those guys too.
well, and you add in all the stress they have with their families, and they're humans on the other direction too. They know they're 14-point favorites. They know the Patriots are 3-11. They know that hey, what happened? We can probably play our C- game and win this. Guess what? They
did.
played their C-
They
game
did.
and they won. Like,
We talked about that on
they
Wednesday.
knew
Like
that
I didn't take
too.
this week
It's
seriously.
hard to get up.
Yeah, you didn't take our prep
No.
as serious. Like neither one of us did what we would
No.
normally do for a game. This felt like, hey, let's just show up and win. And that was my worry, was that the Bills were also going to do that, and I felt like they did.
Yeah, and again, luckily, we're talking about we're inflated and everybody's frustrated, and they won.
Yeah.
So this is again our friends Ken and all the guys at KC Sports Network. Welcome to their world all season long. They've literally had 10 of these. 10 of these
Against
fluky,
just
weird,
as
like,
bad, if not worse team.
worse teams.
Yeah.
They did this with the Carolina Panthers. They did this with
The Raiders.
The Raiders. They did this with teams that are just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, that's what I will say before we get into the second
Again, the
half.
Patriots are pretty bad, so I guess
they're very bad. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
no,
Amy, retire these uniforms immediately. Blue jerseys. I will say, I was excited about this uniform combo coming in because I was like, oh, that's different. I like the blue captain patch, red jersey, white pants. Once it was on the field playing, I was like, I don't like this. I'm fine if we never see it again. I'm good with, we could throw this in the trash pile.
Yeah, I'm good. And also, like, sometimes the camera doesn't make it look like it pops as much, so it like looks like dull a little bit. My wife, honestly, because we've seen New England in those red jerseys a bunch of times, was
It
like,
is their Pat the Patriot ripoff.
Yeah, it's a Patriot ripoff, and she was like, this just feels weird. It feels like I'm watching the Patriots play the Patriots.
It's the like Pat the Patriot.
Yeah.
On the helmet, it's the like white and blue shoulder stripe, like, which honestly, I hate the Patriots. It's by far their best look. Uniform. It's their best look. So we did like kind of a, like
stolen Fanatics.
When I won't go that far. I won't go that far. But like when Fanatics took over the baseball jerseys and they just look like cheap rip-off versions of the original jerseys, but they were still professional jerseys. We look like that. It was like, I
didn't love it. But before we get into this first half, I will say I'm not as critical of Sean McDermott as some. Some would say I'm a homer and a stand for him. This is the kind of game, though, where that is, like, he talked about it the last couple of weeks where he didn't see the focus for the Rams game like he wanted to see, but then he saw it in Detroit. And so it's been a topic of conversation in the press conferences. I know it's been on his mind. And this is the game where, like, it is the holidays. You did come off these games, all this stuff that we are talking about. Like, it's a perfect opportunity for your team to think they can come out and play their C+ game. You have these injuries. Like, that is where I would need coaching to step up and get these guys up for this game. I'm sure he tried. I don't know what he did, but it fell flat in that first half and they weren't ready. And I'm sure the second half halftime speech wasn't like fun for the guys in
halftime. Film study isn't going to be a hoot either. So enjoy that. So again, we don't take advantage of anything here. We don't capitalize on the potential for a double dip, but we do open up the second half with what I think was my Herr drive of the game here because of the combination of it. We open up the half with a 9-play, 68-yard touchdown drive, but it was because of the necessity of what they needed in that moment. Like, hey, we got to get our crap together here. We're letting the New England Patriots win this game. Like, this is not acceptable. We need to take this seriously. They come right out. James, I thought he was going to house the initial play.
Yeah.
I thought he was gone. It was 25 yards. Josh was running like side by side with him for a bit of it. And I thought he was going to house it and just go all the way.
Yeah.
We get a nice, it actually opened up with a nice return by Ray Davis. He gets 24 yards. A nice tough run there, broke a couple tackles. Cook breaks that off. But then we don't take the step back we had early. We had dumb penalties weird stuffed plays. We keep it moving down the field. 5 yards to Cook, the 17-yarder to Keon Coleman, which was really nice. Another 5-yarder to Cook, another 2-yarder to Cook. What you talked about earlier, you went back to him. He touched the ball 4 of the first 5 plays of this drive. And hey, what do you know? We keep moving the ball down the field in a successful manner. Josh had a smart throwaway on first down. He did not force it. I thought he was going to. He wanted to throw back across his body, but he threw it out of the back of the end zone. Then we actually, one of the few nice wrinkles we saw from Joe Brady today. I don't think today was Brady's best creative game either. And again,
save some of it. Yeah.
I don't hate forcing yourself to play vanilla against a 3-11 team. You don't want to show everything you got, but we hadn't seen this. So they're lined up in the shotgun, and before the snap, Josh and James Cook slide over a spot, and Josh and Cook lines up behind the center. You get a direct snap. Cook does a read option to Josh Allen, fakes the give there, and then honestly, if not for Christian Ellis kind of flashing across there, and I have to assume, I guess it was Osiris Torrance was supposed to make his block and try to get to the second level because there wasn't really anyone there to block him, because Dawkins had a really nice block. Knox had a really nice block. Torrance had a nice block, but there just wasn't anyone else. Christian Ellis comes flashing across, gets James Cook by the ankle. Otherwise, he was about to score, and it was a really nice play. And Josh ends up making it right because on the next play, they come right back around. They use a read option play action. He pulls it back while James Cook continues to go, turns, tosses him the ball, goes into the end zone for a much-needed score. And again, this was my West Herr drive of the game. Big shout out to our guys at West Herr. We love working with them, Brad, and the whole team over there. Biggest auto dealership in New York State, and one of the biggest employers in Western New York. Great around the holidays, great commercials, tons of fun.
Yeah.
They actually
Zach Hilton
to the new commercials they do.
Zach Hilton here. Thank you for that. Yeah, I want the Cook Allen option more. Oh my God, I can't wait for more. They're setting it up for sure. For something more. Yeah, this is a great choice for the drive of the game. It's not mine, but it was in consideration for my drive of the game because you did need it. And I do feel like this was one where, again, I'm being very speculative tonight. It's the holidays. I might have had a couple glasses of eggnog. I can't confirm. But it felt like at halftime, McDermott got on Brady and got on this. It was like, hey, like, we need to get the run game going. We need to go to Cook. This is what we need to do to get back in this game. And you saw it. And that first down, that 1st and 10, 25 yards, that was Cook's 3rd touch of the game at that point. And he had 75 yards on 3 touches. Like, it's right there hitting you in the face. I saw it on film against this New England team. Like, you had an opportunity to run on them and you just went away from it, chasing these big plays early. Now you got a whole new half come out and do it, and they did it with success, and it was great to see. And somebody else made a comment, right here, Brad Schultz, saying, I feel like the D largely did their job, may escaped a lot. I want to see some change. But then somebody else had one on, it looked like the defensive line right here. Sarah Christine said, looks like the D line came out better in the second half. I think that's what the second half locker room was all about, was like, guys, we got to win the trenches on both sides of the ball, get this run game going, and start doing something on the defensive line. And I think that's what you saw, and it changed the impact on this game here in the second half.
Yeah. Real quick one. Shout out to our guy, Greg Moyer, Left Turn. You guys know him from Left Turn. He has a banger of a tweet that he brings up each time of the year. I don't know why the guy's name is Smiley when every time he's shown or I think about him, I'm frowning.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be done with Matthew Smiley. I just it's unfortunately a very thankless role as the special teams coach, because you want it to be like the referees, where if you don't think about them all game, it means they had a good game.
Correct.
If I ever have you existing as the special teams coach, then that means something bad happened. And I've thought about Matthew Smiley existing way too much this year.
Every week I do.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. Every week I do the DVOA graphic, and they've just like hung out at 29th and 30th in every team.
We're gonna be just as bad today, if not worse.
It'll go down. Yeah, it'll definitely go down here this week. It sucks because it's like you've gone into a bunch of matchups where it's like every other aspect is dominant, better than these other teams that you're playing, and then there's a special teams unit where it's just, even when they play well, it's in the back of my mind that it's going to be a cause, and everybody has this concern. I get it, because historically the Sean McDermott defense has let down in playoff spots, But in my mind, every time I go into a game, it's like, what's going to happen on special teams that's like going to blow this or give another team an opportunity? And you see it way too often. But I want to get into this next drive here.
I was just going to say, do I need to step out of the way? Because the
no,
defense
this isn't
about to have 3 straight turnovers on 3 straight drives.
Yeah, this is so I put out a tweet like we need to pay Greg Rousseau tonight. Like if we can get his agent locked into a room and get this guy a deal, it has to happen. And I got pushback on this, Greg, like which is crazy to me because Greg Rousseau's been so good this year. And even when the defenses look bad, like a game like tonight, he's wrecking plays. And like in the first half, he was still getting pressures and still doing stuff. He causes a fumble. This was a first down. They get a 7-yard run to Stevenson. And it feels like, okay, like we answered and they're going to come back and just run down the field. And then on a 2nd and 3, he comes in and punches the ball out, causes a fumble, gets the ball back for the Bills. He just makes plays. And they're not always sacks. Sometimes they're just pressures. Sometimes they're batted balls. Sometimes it's later in the game what he does. And he's a game-wrecking player that defense or offenses have to adjust for and keep extra hats on him. And I don't think they're going to be able to afford to keep him. I don't know how that contract's going to work, but man, I hope they can get something done with him.
Yeah. So, we'll see where it goes. But I think the people wanting like every single play explosion don't realize like Myles Garrett, like the best players in the league, like you're not dominant every single snap. Chris Jones isn't making a play every single snap. Now, again, those guys are at a tier above where Gregory Rousseau, he's been, now it's 1 tier. He's at the next tier just below there, but no one is making plays every single time.
No.
The fact that he now is involved in multiple plays here where he's making a play is the important part. So we get the ball here. This is one where, again, the defense gives the offense an opportunity to put their foot on the throat.
You got all the
let
momentum.
New England know that, hey, you don't deserve to be in this game. You're not on the same level that we are. We're just going to kind of put you away here. And again, we kind of step on our own foot and trip ourselves up here. We get a couple yards first. This is the one where, again, I think it would have been a really impressive play. If Shakir comes down with it, it would have been an impressive catch. But he's made impressive catches all season long. So
sure.
I wanted to see him do that. It's his own fault that he's raised the expectations to where a really tough contested 50-50 ball in the end zone. I expect him to come down with it. Then when he doesn't, I'm like, oh, what's wrong? But he doesn't in this spot. Then we get stuffed for no gain on a 2nd and long run. You know how much I love those. Now it's 3rd and 10, and Josh gets sacked. And I don't know what happened.
He tried running out of this one, and it just closed on him.
It was like we haven't had a ton of messed up protections at the line this year. And I saw Marte Mapu coming up to the line, and it wasn't disguised at all. He was standing right there, and they didn't adjust. And then like the snap went, and no running back went to pick him up. No tackle went over there, and he just ran untouched directly at Josh Allen. And I was like, how? Like they didn't even. This wasn't like a late delayed thing. Like he came right up and stood there in a 2-point stance, ready to go. Like we're
not great.
No.
Nice thing is Josh had some awareness.
230-pound man.
Yeah, some awareness on this one to not take the sack that we saw Stroud take, or that we've seen got some of these guys in the NFL taking, where you're out of field goal range, right? You still you moved up.
Any more lost yard. This was a 50-yard field goal with a 2-yard sack. So just about anything more. If he gets hit at his 3-5 step
at the
drop spot, you're talking like a 58-yarder, and we're punting.
Correct. Yeah, so heads up on him to get something back on this one and keep you in field goal range here, because, like you said, this was a game of inches in a low-scoring game, but you're able to take the lead. And I do think that this kick was great for Tyler Bass this late in the year in these types of conditions. Very cold, big kick. A lot's on the line in this. Like, it doesn't feel like it in the moment, but you're trying to kick to take the lead here. This was a big kick for him, and I think a big moment, positive. You talk all the time about building small blocks of positivity, Greg. This was a small block of positivity for Bass.
Yes, much needed and really positive. And again, this one was a good result, but a bad process on the next defense. Probably the worst drive of the end, which is weird to say because it ends in an interception. But here, it's okay. The defense has now gotten their stuff straight. We've had multiple positive drives here, just caused a turnover. The offense has given us the lead. We've got a touchdown and a field goal on 2 drives. Everything's feeling pretty good. And now the Patriots go 8 plays, 54 yards, move their way all the way down the field. 54 yards doesn't even feel like sufficient because the interception is on a pass into the end zone.
Yeah.
So it's all the way down there, and we're in a spot now where you're frustrated. You feel like you're giving up plays. It's there's a deep one to Booty that was frustrating where Bernard had pressure, but he still gets it off. Really impressive throw from Drake May. Kyer Elam is there, and Booty goes up and gets the ball.
Yeah.
Really to let the Ramondre Stevenson check down where they ran the really nice. He did like a running back leak where he started to block and then leaked out. But they not only did he block, they also ran it as a screen, and there were 2 offensive linemen out there. For it was a really nice play.
Yeah.
The way they had it, picks up 13 on 3rd and 8, and it feels like, oh my God, they're going to come down here and take the lead back. And Cam Lewis comes up with a really nice play, and honestly, one of the very few straight up bad plays Drake May had all day.
Yeah, there was some pressure on him, which I think helped cause an errant throw, but it was a bad throw. But Cam, great play on the ball on a bad throw to get the turnover here. And there were so many comments at this point in the game. There were so many comments during the game where people were like, okay, but if you take the turnovers away, this defense really sucks. And it's like, well, that isn't how any of it, like, okay, if you also take away the Josh Allen rushing touchdowns, he doesn't score that many touchdowns. Like, you can't take away the havoc plays and the good plays that allow your team to get the ball back, because that's what won this game, right? And so, like, yeah, sure, take away their best plays and the defense doesn't look as good. I agree with you, but that's a weird point to make. And that's not how any of it works, right? You can't do it. And I get some turnovers are fluky, but this defense has done a very good job at creating those havoc plays all year. And their worst games have been when they haven't been able to create those havoc plays. And so some of it's luck, some of it is group punching the ball, and some of that's fundamental teaching guys how to attack the ball. And Cam Lewis with a good play here because he didn't have a great game either. He was exposed in a number of ways in this game. So it's good to see him come out and make a play.
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not going to give the defense too much credit for intercepting the ball in the end zone when you let them drive the length of the field, but they did. They made the play. And again, they gave the offense an opportunity to put this game away. You could go up 2 scores here. We have 17-14. You have full possession, and we find a way to come up short here. So they get a nice run. Josh scrambles early on, but David Edwards has to come off the field.
Yeah.
Then we get a 3-yard run and a 10-yard play to Shakir. Now Edwards returns to the game on this play, and we get a really nice run by Ty Johnson, but he gets called back on a holding. So now
whack holding by Torrance too. Even they said on the broadcast, like, this wasn't a good one.
That's the second time, because Torrance is the one who got called for the one that broke in the last game, Lions game or Rams game. I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
So a couple of those where they've been really just iffy calls. Josh gets back 12 of it to Shakir here, and he fumbles, but luckily it gets recovered. I won't lie, he had some heart palpitations when that ball was on the ground.
Yeah, 2 of them.
There was
back-to-back plays, or not back-to-back, but one play later. Cook.
Yeah, now we get an 8-yard play. Now Cook runs again, and this time he fumbles, and this time Torrance falls on the ball. So the one gets knocked out of bounds. The other one, Torrance, falls on it. Now Josh scrambles. It gets it to a 3rd and 4, the New England 35. I'm feeling decent about where we're at.
You're 3rd and 4, and then you get a 3rd and 9 from a
Brown. Like, it was a hard count.
This hurt
Josh
a couple
was doing
times today.
But Josh was trying to do a hard count because it's 3rd and 4. He's trying to get it. But you know that. You know Josh is going to do that in the huddle. You can't fall for Josh's hard count. Like, Spencer Brown fell for Josh's hard count, and it was like a noticeable bark of, louder than Josh normally does, trying to get them to jump, and you jump and you make it 3rd and 9 in a critical spot where you can't afford it. And now you talk about that sack earlier in the game. Yeah, I don't even want to go for Josh tries this is the one where my family was yelling at the TV, where Josh tries the deep ball to Kincaid, where he absolutely could have ran for the first down. Like, there was open space in front of him, absolutely could have ran for, or at a minimum could have ran for 7 yards and slid, and it's at the 33 and it's another 50-yard field goal.
Correct.
But you at least give yourself the option. Instead, it's 4th and 9 at the 40. We're not going to try a 58, 59-yard field goal. And now you have to punt, and now you get a 30-yarder that, I guess, causes a fair catch, but a 30-yard be a victory.
Yeah, this whole end of the drive stinks, and this felt like the offense tonight, where like even when some good stuff happened, they got some breaks by getting those fumble recoveries back. There was another one in the first half where a penalty just pushes you back just enough to be annoying, and this was something that popped its head up early in the year that caused the offense to stall early in games where they were just shooting themselves in the foot. And it doesn't feel like a big thing, 5 yards, but it's all the difference in the world of what play call you're calling on a 3rd and 4 versus a 3rd and 9, and what you need to pick up to have those conversations of, do we go for it? Could we get it to a 4th and 1 where we're sneaking it and we just continue this drive? Or is it something that we are bringing Bass out for another 50-yarder? And it just felt like you just shot yourself in the foot when you didn't need to. You should have known. Brown's been great this year, so again, I'm not going to pile on him, but just a costly mistake that didn't need to exist in this game and took your offense off the field. After, again, we've said maybe now four times, I think, tonight, where the defense got you the ball back and the offense didn't reward it. And this is what's so frustrating to me, Greg, is there's a lot of flaws on the defense. There's frustrating parts about the defense. Josh Allen's the best thing about this team, and we have nothing cool without him. But how many times have we gone on a post-game show and talked about 4, 5, 6 drives where the defense gets a stop, they get a takeaway when you finally need it, and the offense doesn't reward it? And this game felt exactly like that. But we're
real quick. I know it's coming next, so I want to give an update real quick because the fans asked a question here in the chat, and multiple people asked it, so I apologize. I'm not answering the specific person, but they're asking for the latest update on Josh. Producer Chris did some research here. So Elena Getzenberg of ESPN asked Josh, said Bills quarterback Josh Allen said that he had lost some feeling in his right hand from the injury. He went to throw the ball and had no feeling in his right hand. Went on to say he's glad it's gone now. Ryan Talbot, friend of the show, really enjoy Ryan's work, said it took 5 to 10 minutes for the feeling to come back to his hand. So it sounds like
nerve, funny bone.
It must have hit the funny bone and like just lost the feeling in his hand. And came back. So again, I'm gonna trust him at his word. It wouldn't matter if he's hurt worse than that. He's gonna lie to us anyways and tell us. So we're gonna have to accept that as the truth. But it does kind of sound like it. And later on, he was able to have better grip and throw some good balls with it. So it should be there.
He was still shaking it all night, but yes.
Oh yeah, he wasn't happy with it. But now back to you.
So this is my West Herr drive of the game, and it's technically not an offensive drive for the Buffalo Bills, but anytime you get a position like this where, again, I'm frustrated with the offense because it should be, you already should have the arm's length lead that I would have felt comfortable with and what I needed from this offense to get at this point in the game. And I think that a little bit lost in the score of this game is still a frustration on the defense. And they'll be like, well, the team scored 24 points, but the defense scored 7. And here it is. Here you get a 1st and 10 after the Bills punt. They get a 1st and 10. It's a 2-yard run. The defensive line does a really good job here. And then it's a 2nd and 8, and it's a lateral. And you don't see these a lot because oftentimes they're not actually laterals, right? They're the plays that everybody runs for and they think it's a fumble, and then they blow it dead and it wasn't a fumble. But this was a true lateral. And Groot blew this play up. Like, he saw it come in. There was a bit of a tip on it, but he did not give, I think it was Stevenson, didn't even give him a chance to make the catch. And people were frustrated that Groot didn't grab it, but he's like a big lumbering guy. He tried to grab it and slipped and fell, but Taryn comes in and grabs it, and the Bills score a touchdown, and you're up 24-14. And this is all I needed, Greg. I get that they made it a little closer with a long touchdown drive later in the game. That, again, is the same thing that happened in the Lions game where it felt closer in the end of the game than it actually was. But this, to me, was the arm's length that I needed to keep a bad team away from you. And you're at a point in this game where you're in the 4th quarter, you got a 2-possession lead, and thank you to the defense for getting that lead. And this is why I was saying Greg Rousseau blew up this game. He was a game wrecker in this game. That play was made by him and allowed your defense to score when your offense wasn't inept and unable to score and give you the lead that you needed. So shout out to Groot, shout out to the defensive line for coming through, making big play here. And anytime you get a play like this, that's just like, you don't see it all the time. It's got to be my West Herr drive of the game. So this was mine, West Herr drive of the game. And I think this was the game-winning drive. Ultimately.
Yeah, well, very literally, because the Patriots did come in to score there. So I know someone in the chat had asked about the UCL injury that Josh had, if there could be lingering injuries or more sensitivity. That's a great reason to come into the Discord with One Pass members and ask our man Kyle Trimble. He's in there all the time. Eric and Aaron and I literally ping things off of him for injury feedback all the time in the chat. He's great.
I can speak on it. I'm not. This is actually going to shock some people. I'm not a professional athlete. I know I do look like Josh Allen, although somebody in a YouTube video this week said I look a great value. Josh,
great value, Josh. You had got the other really good one was if the Captain America machine worked in reverse.
Yeah.
It turned you that was also a really good one.
Yes. So that was a great comment. But what I will say, and Kyle has helped me with this injury. A few years ago, Greg, I was in a cast and it was in my thumb, but it was the ulnar side. And I still have issues with it all the time from golf or overuse or stuff like that. And recently I had a nerve issue where I would honestly something must have happened, but I would reach out and my whole hand would just give out. I was holding a mug one day and I dropped the mug and I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the thumb's not healed right. And he's like, it's just a nerve thing. There's some inflammation in there and you just got to get the inflammation down. He gave me a couple workouts, 2-3 days. It went away. And so I don't know if that is what's going on with Josh, but I do think that those injuries, even when they heal, can have, if you re-aggravate something like that, there can be some of those weird things. But you're right. Come into Discord. Kyle's a great resource to talk to and bounce that stuff off.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. So come in. We will ask him because I'm curious. But you'll be able to find out the answer if you come in and ask. And obviously, I think producer Chris here said Kyle already commented that the cold weather certainly exacerbates it. Which, if you think about it, banging your funny, or a huge athlete banging it that hard and hitting it, but now add to when it's a wind chill of -2, it's just gonna
funny bone. It might be the worst name for something other than turf toe.
Correct.
None of it's good.
You took my joke. You stole my joke.
Okay.
But honestly, it is they're just horribly named things that one, it's not that funny. It's literally nerve damage. You're damaging your nerve.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same function as a stinger. So when you get a stinger, it's because you get hit in the neck and the nerve that runs down your arm goes crazy and you send it into electroshock and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, why can't I move anything? It's just, it happens at the elbow instead of the neck. It's the exact same nerve impingement, I think. I might even.
That's a good word. Sounds good.
I might have even used the right word. I'm going to pretend I did. But it's the same thing. It's just we call it funny bone for some reason. And the same idea. When we have the exact same ligament that gets torn in your knee, everyone freaks out. When it happens in your ankle, everyone freaks out. When it happens in your foot, we call it turf toe, and it sounds cute.
Yeah, and people think you're soft because it's you have a toe injury.
This wimpy thing, no, it's the exact same ligament injury. It's just in your the biggest, most important part of your foot instead of your ankle or your knee. So random rant. So from here on, we just kind of hold on and ride the rest of the game out. It initially seems like we're going to salt it away easily because we get a really nice defensive possession, including multiple pressures on May where we're chasing them around. We get them to punt. Again, Gerard Mayo punted on 4th and 5 at their 46 when you're down by 10 points. In this one, Charles Davis is not an aggressive announcer by any means. And Charles Davis was like, I don't know about this one, Ian.
This was the one where I told you when you brought up earlier, this was where I was like, okay, punt's a win for me.
Yeah, dude.
What are you doing, man?
It's 4th and 5. Your rookie quarterback is playing great. Really, really good. He's had one bad decision the entire game. And you're down 10 points with 8 minutes to go. And you punt on 4th and 5, 6. This dude's trying to lose his job. Everyone's talked about how conservative the Crafts are. They don't like to fire people after 1 year. He's kept the locker room together, all that kind of stuff. It would have to be a disaster to end the season for him to lose his job. I don't want the Patriots to fire him and then go hire Mike Vrabel and get, all of a sudden a good coach with what Drake May looks like. I want Gerard Mayo to hold on. my man, stop punting and giving ammo for them to fire you. This is bad news. And again, I've said this 4 other times. This is the 5th time where the defense made a play. You had an opportunity to come out there and just put the Patriots in their place and say, hey, it ain't going to work like that here. The Bills got the ball with 8 minutes and 26 seconds left. I will say, for only running 6 plays, they ran 3 minutes and 57 seconds off the
Definitely,
clock.
yeah. And that 3rd and 1 was a beautiful design. One of Brady's better plays of the day, that Ray Davis play, but he goes out of bounds a little earlier than it could have been an even bigger play. But yeah, this just felt to me like
he was trying to tightrope. Like he was trying.
Definitely.
It looked like he broke off like a 40-yard play, but he only got 17 of it because he did step out of bounds.
Yeah, still a great play, but then you get the drop to Cooper here, and again, that was good coverage by Gonzalez, but you needed to move the chains a couple more times on this one and just bleed a little more clock out. The Bills forced to take a timeout on a 3rd and 10, and then you get a Josh scramble for a couple of yards. Doesn't get much running really at all today. And then all of a sudden you're in 4th and 10, and then this is where Sam Martin had just like a weird wobbly 37-yard punt that just
which, again, when it's freezing cold, is understandable. Just horrendous timing for his
not great.
One of his worst punts of the season. I don't know if it's his worst one. I don't remember all of
them.
But, one of his worst punts of the season at the worst time. And again, this one, people are going to feel frustrated because there was multiple opportunities to get off the field. We are not, we're homers for plenty of reasons, Aaron. You and I are.
Sure.
We don't lay stuff at the feet of the refs or like use that as an excuse. This drive was 60% Patriots, 40% referees. Like this final drive, 13 plays for 75 yards. They were looking for any possible reason to keep the Patriots in this game. There were some of the most ticky-tack called crazy late flags, waited to see the result of the play, and then the flag came out. Just some really frustrating stuff here. So again,
that 2nd and 6
gave up the points, but
early in this drive, that 2nd and 6, Ingram
was terrible.
Was a terrible call. You got him into some situations too, but again, this is a team with nothing to lose, and this is where he did the right thing of going for it on 4th down, and it was that great keeper on the read option. May gets 13 yards, but like the Bills did a good job getting him into that 4th down spot. You had him at 3rd and inches, and Dorian came in on a run blitz and just stuffed it. Like you had some nice plays in here defensively. You didn't give up. Like it was frustrating because they were able to get some 1st downs and move down the field. But yeah, you had the unnecessary roughness on Hooper on a 25-yarder that put it half the distance to the goal. I don't
turn it into like a 40-yard play.
Yeah, and that one is like so frustrating because Bernard's not trying to do it. It's a bang. Really, that was probably one of May's 2nd worst throws. Like he really put Hooper in a bad spot there where he was gonna get hit like that. Like that's a hospital ball,
and you could see from his reaction, he knew.
Yeah,
like he wasn't mad at Bernard. He was mad at himself after that play that he hung Hooper out to dry.
Those are the ones where I get it. Like by the rule,
sure. Yes, that's the one I'm the least frustrated with. Like that one, like all right.
I wish though there was a way for the league to be like, it's to make it so like the non-intentional ones where it's just like there's nothing the defender can do in the spot. Yeah. He's trying to play the ball exactly the right way. I wish there was a little more nuance to the rule. I know we want to eliminate those hits and not see guys get concussions, but man, I don't know what a defense is supposed to do. And those are a 40-yard play is a game-changing play, and it feels like a backbreaker. That one I just felt frustrated of like, yes, it's right, but gosh, that sucks. Like, it's not a great spot to be in. But here, from there on, dude, I think it was like 9 plays in 1st and goal.
Yeah.
Or within goal before they scored. And like, yeah, I'm frustrated the defense gave up points and made it feel like a closer game. But dude, they made them take 10 plays to do so.
It took their 10th try of, and goal. They had 10 plays from blank and goal. 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, 1st and goal, second and goal, 3rd and goal, 1st and goal, 2nd. It took their 10th try in order to get a touchdown.
Frustrating
there with plenty of help.
Lots of help along the way. And we argued a little bit of it in the Cover One Slack or the Cover One group chat on Like the one on Elam, the first defensive pass interference, like it was hand fighting, like by the rule, technically, sure, like you can't grab the shoulder pads, but the offensive guy was pushing off too. But the league is always going to favor the offensive guy. Like, whatever, I can be talked into, like, it's super ticky tacky. It's not the spot that flag should come out. It was a late flag, but whatever. He was technically holding him. And here's what I'll say about Elam. They always seem to call him on Elam. So that's telling me that prior to game starting, coaches are saying, keep an eye on this guy. He's grabby.
Sure.
And so that just follows you in the league. But that next one, like, I know a lot of people are like, hey, he didn't turn his head. This is another ruling, though, Greg, where I think this is the NFL's got to fix this, where if it's an underthrown ball and the wide receiver is the one that makes contact on this play, again, I don't know what you want the defensive back to do. Like, it's easier to say, oh, turn your head every time. Like, he has no idea that ball is getting thrown in that spot. Okay. It's easier to say it. I wish he would have turned his head, but like he didn't. That's not a pass interference in my view of it. And again, the flag came out like 2 to 3 seconds after the play is dead. And I thought that we got it. Like, I hate having to sit and watch every defensive breakup or anything on a play and like waiting to celebrate because I'm waiting for a flag to come out. I hate that feeling.
Yeah, it is a frustrating experience. And again, I understand why it's there, because there are guys who will fight back through there and get the play. And by the very definition of it, you are interfering with his ability to get to the ball. It's very similar to some of those plays with Bernard hitting the receiver or defensive lineman landing on a quarterback. There are some of them where, well, what do you want him to do? But it also is a penalty. Like,
it's a penalty.
I get those, because the receiver would have fought back. Like in that one, the receiver would have caught it for a touchdown because of what you said, even though the ball was coming. So part of that, like, hey, I need a defensive back who knows the ball is coming.
Sure.
Whatever you need to do to be aware that the ball is coming to your guy, I need you to be able to do both. I need you to be able to be aware that the ball is coming, because either you interfere with it or he catches it for a touchdown, because either way you didn't know the ball was coming.
Yeah.
You
know, what I need one of the two.
The ball hit him in the leg, though, didn't it? Too, like it
was a terrible underthrow. It was a terrible underthrow. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. But again, they go there. I actually will say the ending of the game here, I like the fact that the Bills went and like took the win. They didn't like take the weird way out. They ran the ball. They didn't, go through and try some weird field goal or punt at the end.
Yep. Wait, so they did something right at the end of the game when the time was running? Weird.
Yes.
But we won't talk about that.
Exact proper time management at the end. Ran the ball right off the bat. Although I will say Ty Johnson got a little close to the out of bounds for my taste on his 12-yard run. He barely went down before out of bounds. And if the defender very easily could have carried his momentum out and made that out of bounds to save them a timeout. But it forced them to take their first for 5 yards, forced them to take their second, ran the ball for 4 yards, got it to 3rd and 1 to take their last one. Ty Johnson got no gain, their first good defensive play of the drive, got it to 4th and 1. And I think there's a lot of coaches who may have overthought this or tried to do something weird where maybe they try for a field goal or something dumb. No, go for the win. Yeah. Use Josh Allen. And maybe some confusion of if Josh Allen's hand is okay and you were able to like take a snap. But obviously he had done the other plays from under center. You felt good about that by now. Josh comes in, sneaks it for 2 yards, gets the first down, lets the clock run out, win the game. It was handled perfectly. That's exactly how you want to handle it. They didn't get cute in those situations. This was similar to that situation, at least on the first down play at the end of the Houston game early in the season, where, hey, time management, see if you get a 12-yard run to get yourself a little pop, and then go into hurry up and try to pass it, but get the clock rolling, get control of it here. They handled it perfectly. This was really, really sound clock management from their end, let everything run down, and the aggressive.
There's more of these than there are the ones that we want to talk about all the time. And I get it. Those other ones are more frustrating, but there are more of these. And again, Kansas City has been praised for winning games like this. all season long. And so I have some frustrations. There's definitely stuff I want to go back and look on the film on this game, Greg. But a win's a win, and winning ugly still matters, and finding ways to win these games when you're down and out still matters. And some of the conversations takeaways are weird. But you know what? You got the win, and it seems like you made it out relatively healthy. Seems like the Josh injury is something that's not significant, at least from what we're seeing and what you were talking about as of right now. That's all great stuff. Wash your hands of this and go celebrate Christmas.
That's 100% it. I'm not going to watch this game ever again. I'm never going to watch this game a second time in my entire life. Yeah. I'm going to go hang out with my family. We're going to have our big family casino trip tomorrow to celebrate my grandfather.
Nice.
We're going to then do our big, loud, obnoxious Italian Christmas on Christmas Eve. Everybody's going to spend all day together, much food and yelling and drinking and swearing and hugging each other and loving each other. It's going to be fantastic. And then by that time, I'm already going to move down to next week, and I'm going to start watching the Christmas Day games when we go home and open presents with the kids in the morning. I'm never going to watch this game ever again, and you can't make me because you're not the boss of me.
Yeah, I will tomorrow morning because I hate myself.
Because you're a sicko.
I hate myself a little bit. I'm not as sick as Eric. So
he's a full-on sicko.
Yeah, like, I won't. I might not have a segment for it, but I am gonna go back. There's some plays I want to highlight and watch. But yeah, no, I'm gonna move on to Christmas. I do hate the NFL is like leaking into Christmas a little bit, but whatever. That's a thing. But I've got some fun traditions. My boys and we do a sleepover in the living room. We're doing that on Monday night. Where me and the guys hang out down in the living room, watch movies all night, and just till we pass out. We eat popcorn and candy, and just don't even brush our teeth. We don't even care. And then Christmas.
There's no rules for Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas is so fun. Then my in-laws come up and we get a second Christmas. So we got a fun week ahead, man. We've been making cookies and hot chocolate. Like this is it. This is the prime stuff. So nothing you can say to me on Twitter is going to piss me off this week, dude. I'm in full Christmas mode. So go pound sand somewhere else. I don't care.
That's right. But you guys have been awesome. This has been a ton of fun. Help us out here before you head out. Make sure to press that like button. If you want to get me something for Christmas, get me a rating on whatever you're watching this on. Rating, review, tell somebody else about the show. Go in and help us out there. Leave comments in the show comments. That's what I want for Christmas, is for you to be able to help us out and to share a little bit more there. I am going to be taking a little bit of a break from the Greg Tompsett football show just because I'm here enjoying my family. So I'll do once we get back into this and we see what happens with the Christmas games, I'll do a little bit of a breakdown there. But for anybody who hasn't seen, both Aaron and Eric and I all use the fantastic work by Adam Pencil. He's done some awesome stat work. I'm gonna do some videos with him. I heard he got some shout outs on WGR for his menace score that he put together on offense, being able to show how fantastic the Bills offense had been up until today. We probably didn't help that score today. But we'll go through and share some of those things. I might do some videos with Adam here later on this week to be able to check out some of the cool work he's doing.
Awesome, man. I love it. I'm looking forward to it. I love Adam. He does great work. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. But Greg, all the other people aside, Merry Christmas to you, man. Nobody likes Christmas more than me, but you are close. You're right there. We're about tied. So Merry Christmas to you and your family. I'm appreciative of you, and I'm glad to spend this time with you when I know that you could be spending it with family right now. So thank you.
Of course. Merry Christmas to Sarah. Merry Christmas to fantastic producer Chris Kepner. Yeah. Merry Christmas to Eric and Anthony and Dave and Hans and Joe and Steve and Tilt and all the guys at Cover One. We have an awesome team. We love everybody there. Chris Seth, all the other fantastic people that are in and around our lives, and all the writers, Ryan and Greg and Kyle. It's been a fantastic journey here. We appreciate them. All of you listening, we appreciate all of you so much. It's been an amazing time here, and there's lots of fun stuff to come here in the new year. So check out all the stuff we have going on at Cover One. But on behalf of our fantastic producer, Chris Kepner, my wonderful show host, Aaron Quinn, our awesome sponsor, Herr. We appreciate all of you so much. But I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to the Cover One Buffalo podcast, and we are out.